The time has come to play Arakaali's Fang Summoner. Of course, I made the build tanky as possible, as always. What's up guys, Bridget here. Let's see what things we got on the damage side. Our skill choice is Raise Spiders, which is coming from the Arakaali's Fang. Raise 2 spectral spiders from each nearby corpses. Spiders will use Viper Strike, which will inflict poison. We can have 20 of these guys. And they also immune to damage, making them really good on bigger boss fights, so we don't have to resummon them every time. Because we can't kill anything by ourselves, we have to use a unique flask to able to summon the spiders. Just press Desecrate 2 times, then Writing Jar Flask, cast Divine Ire, and the spiders will be summoned. They will active for almost 1 minute because we're taking a few duration and the Enduring Bound Annoyment. Biggest and best multiplier for a chaos damage build is coming from a secondary source. Spiders will inflict Wither on bosses, which is 90% chaos damage taken increase by default. Also we get an Ascendancy node that will increase the Wither effect, because we choose Pathfinder as our Ascendancy. We only benefit from the Wither increase part, because we will not inflict the Wither. This is when a really cheap unique came in, Severed in Sleep, unique sword. This will give 60% chance to our minions to inflict Wither, which will immediately get to 15 stacks, because we have 20 minions with very high attack speed. Also these swords give us Envy Aura skill. Our spiders will deal additional chaos damage with attacks. I think this sword is pretty good for the free chaos price tag. To give the spiders even more attack speed, we will use the Ancient School unique helmet. When our minions deal a critical strike, they will hear whispers. Minions which hear the whispers take 20% of their maximum life as chaos damage per second, have 50% increased attack speed and damage, and do not listen to you, because the spiders immune to damage. The chaos damage part is not applied to them, only the attack speed part. They will have pretty good uptime on this, because they have 10% chance to deal a critical strike. To boost their damage, we will using Offering, and that's the Flash Offering. This will give them even more attack speed. Also because they stack poison, we can use 2 curse to increase their damage. The curses is the following: Temporal Chains to increase the poison duration, and Despair to lower the enemy chaos resistance, and we applying with 1 signal button Arcanist Brand. In my cost when damage taken setup, I put skeletons and linked with Feeding Frenzy. Feeding Frenzy will give us a buff that increase the damage and the attack speed the summon spiders. The reason is cost when damage taken, because we already using many buttons in the build, and we out the keybinds already. On the defensive side, let's start with my favorite part. We have Elemental Elements Immunity, because we using Purity of Elements. This is also give us Elemental Resistance. We converting a big chunk of physical damage to Elemental and Chaos damage taken, because we using Taste of Hate. That's 21%, because we allocating a few Flask effect node on the tree, and the Pathfinder is also giving us more Flask effectiveness. We take 10% of physical damage as chaos damage, because we take the armor mastery. We still have more physical damage reduction in the build. Any aspect of the crab fans out there? If you not use this aura before, this will give us the crab barriers every half second, and it will grant physical damage reduction per crab stack. So on this aura give us 20% physical damage reduction. But when we take a hit, we will lose all of the stacks. This is when come in handy or high evasion rating. Using Grace Aura for evasion rating, so we almost can die from the monster's basic attacks or projectiles. Because we using Grace, we can use the Ghost Dance Keystone. When we take a hit, we will recover 3% of our evasion rating as energy shield. And we can do this 3 times in a row before the stacks recharge. Spell Suppression, this is coming from the tree. Yes, we can be Spell Suppression capped just with our skill tree. We're regenerating 12% energy shield per second, making us basically immune almost to any ground degen. Even when you're fighting Sirius, you can walk over the pods and not die to it. The regen is coming from a few sources. First and the easiest source is the Flask. Using a Flask craft, regenerate 3% of life per second during effect, because the Flask effectiveness we get 5% alone from this craft. We have a Watcher Eye, regenerate percentage of energy shield per second by affected by discipline. I got almost 2.5% from this, 2% from our energy shield mastery, and we taking the minor Pantheon Sulov to Kohama. With all of this, we can stand still in most of the ground degen. This is the really interesting part, is our energy shield. Where is the 13k energy shield is coming from? Let's start with the biggest source, or chest piece, Ghost Wright. This chest alone gives us more than 6k energy shield. shield because it will convert our maximum life to energy shield. From now we can scale our life and energy shield in the same time. This is why I have life and energy shield on every single piece of gear. We are also stacking intelligence to get more energy shield. I reached almost 600 intelligence. We are achieving this with int on every possible gear slot. Also I'm using global defensive tattoos on every single int node on the tree. Another big chunk of energy shield is coming from our amulet, presence of Chayula. It will also convert our maximum life to energy shield. You may be already noticed my life is reserved and only one life point left. The reason is because I'm using the coruscating elixir unique flask. Chaos damage does not bypass the energy shield. With Pathfinder we can have easily 100% uptime on this flask, so we're using this to be safe from chaos damage and not die to it. We also using Arctic armor to get more damage reduction to the build. Worth to mention here, we also using the VAL version of this skill as well, so we can easily cheat any big hits like Maven memory game or even the big brain explosion if you want to. I was really happy about this build. It was really fun to play. The mapping is very relaxing. I just can off in the middle of Harbinger pack and wait to my minions finish them. I would only mention one problem I had with this build, and this was the mob or boss fight starting. You have to press many buttons to summon the spiders. Also after 1 minute you have to do this again, and sometimes your minions will disappear at the wrong time, so you have to run around and resummon them. Luckily the build can just stand still while the boss is hitting us, but it was annoying. The damage could be higher. Right now we have 10 million DPS with this setup, but that's after the ramp, and that's 10 seconds. And let's be honest here, not many endgame bosses standing still more than 5 seconds, so your minions will have to chase and lose DPS. This is really true on Awakener. He teleporting around every 5 seconds also become untargetable, so this type of fights is annoying with this level of DPS. I would like if you hit the like button like the Shaper hitting the Elder, so it can start spread to more people. Thank you! Few important things you need in the build, using a bunch of unique items. Let's start with our weapons. The build without this would not exist. Arakaali's Fang, this will give the spiders. The rolls and the corruption doesn't matter on this because we're not using the weapon. The other weapon, Severed in Sleep, with this our minions can inflict wither. Ghostwright unique body armor. This is the reason why we can scale our energy shield from our life, because this item is converting our maximum life to energy shield by also giving us tons of chaos resistance. Also worth to mention, try to buy a well rolled one, even if it's not 6-link, you can 6-link yourself. Quality up with Hillock to 30% and you can 6-link it hopefully easily. Anathema unique ring. With this ring we can use 2 cures in the build, also give us int and a little bit of energy shield. Presence of Chayula unique amulet. With this we cannot be stunned and converting our maximum life to energy shield, and we anointing enduring bound. The main DPS source of our minions, Ancient School unique helmet. We already talked about this, why we using it. Worth to mention here, I'm using an enchantment. Flash of Fang grants additional 21% increased attack speed. The following implicits you can craft with the Eldish currency. Spam T, you get the following. On your gloves, suppression chance and minions deal increased damage. Try to get why there is a unique enemy or pinnacle boss in your presence. On your boots. We only care about one mod. Flash of Fang has increased effect. The other mod you see here, the poison, is not working with the minions. I just got this. Sadly there is no good mod for us from Ether of Words. Also, if you want, you can get the 2% life regen mod enchantment here. Before we start in the flash section, with Pathfinder you don't have to cap your resistance with your gear because you will have 100% uptime on the resistance flask, so you don't have to worry about capping your resistance. With the gear, just your chaos resistance. Flasks we using is the Wrathing Jar. With this we can summon the spiders. Taste of Hate unique flask and coruscating elixir. With this we will not die to chaos damage. We're using 2 magic utility flasks. Quicksilver with charge recovery and regenerate 3% of life per second during effect craft. Topaz flask with reduced charge use or increased charge recovery. Check POB to have 100% uptime. We crafting on this reduce mana cost of skill during effect. Pantheons we using is the following. On boss fights, Soul of Soralis, and you need to upgrade 8% reduced elemental damage taken if you haven't been hit recently. This is come in handy to tank the serious meteor. Minor Soul of Tukohama, you need to upgrade to get the 2% life regen. For mopping, I switching to Soul of Lunaris and take the Bleed Pantheon, Soul of Relakash. Bandits to passive point. I just want to highlight a few things on the passive tree that you need for the build. I have a bad news here. You need to use 12 passive point cluster Javel with increased effect of small nodes and need to get attack speed with minions and energy shield and it. Without this the build would lose so many damage and energy shield. I said bad news because I paid for mine 6 divine. I don't know how much would this go after the video. Here, using a Watcher Eye with regenerate percentage of maximum energy shield per second while affected by Discipline, gain 10% of maximum mana as maximum energy shield while affected by Clarity. I bought this for 1 divine, like 2 weeks ago. If you can't find this combination, I would go with the regen. Using a Timeless Javel here, I'm only using this for the minion damage. This Javel gives us 60% minion damage. The rest of the Javels is rare Ghastly Eye Javels with life, energy shield and minion attack speed and increased damage if you used a minion skill recently. Using many tattoos. You need to use 3 Flask effect duration to get 100% uptime on your resistance flask, 4 mana reservation tattoo and the rest is increased global defenses. Also I'm using 2 attributes tattoos here. With taking Pathfinder as your Ascendancy, on your first lap take Nature's Boon, so your magic flask will have increased effect. Just don't forget upgrade your Quicksilver effects to magic rarity while leveling. Second lap, Nature's Adrenaline. You now generating flash charges. Third lab, Nature's Reprisal. This will increase the Wither effect. Last lab, we don't really have good Uber lab choices, so I just take the small Flask nodes here. Gem and Gemling, starting with our main link in our weapon, Multi-Strike, Awakened Unbound Elements, and Dive Jet minion damage. When you doing maps, switch out the Multi-Strike to melee splash. You need socket these gems inside your weapon to support your raised spiders. In our other weapon, Dive Jet Flash Offering, Divine Ire, and Desecrate. In our helmet, Flame Dash, Divine Blessing, Malevolence, and Dive Jet Inspiration support. In our gloves, Discipline, Arctic Armor, Enlighten, and Purity of Elements. In our boots, Immortal Call, Cost when damage taken, Feeding Frenzy, and Summon Skeletons. In our body armor, Clarity level 1, Grace, Despair, Origin Support, Arcanist Brand, and Temporal Chains. I hope you enjoyed this video about Arakaali's Fang Pathfinder. If you have any question, please leave a comment below. Also, I would like to thank you for my Patreons for supporting me. Thanks again guys. Thanks for watching, I was Pidget, see you next time.